Could this be one of the most powerful gaming handhelds on the market? We're going to find out. It's the AOKZOE A1 Pro, and I can't wait to talk about it. Let's get into it. Welcome back, guys, to another video. And as you know, the gaming handheld market, gaming PCs in general, like the Steam Deck, it's heated up a lot right now. There's a lot of new gaming handhelds coming out, and one of them I'm really excited about that you could buy right now is the AOKZOE A1 Pro, and we're going to take a look at what it can do. Now, this bad boy has the world's first AMD 7840U handheld AMD APU CPU. Now, this thing is an absolute beast. At 15 watts, it boasts 50% more performance than the Steam Deck, and at 30 watts, it gives you about 100% more performance than the Steam Deck. Now, I do believe it has Hall joysticks, so that means no drift, no dead zone. It's got really good analog triggers. It's got RGB breathing lights on the front. It's got great vibration built in. It comes in 32 gigabytes and 64 gigabytes memory. It supports full-sized NVMe SSD, so none of that many M2 2230 that the Steam Deck uses. It uses full-size ones that are really common. It's got a kickstand built in. It's got USB-C 4 if you want to use external graphics amplifiers. It's got power delivery, fast charge. It's got it all. And I like the design of it. It kind of reminds me of the Asus ROG Ally a little bit, but with way more features built in, including those Hall joysticks, like I said, and the linear triggers. So AOKZOE, it looks like a beast, guys. So let's pop over to their Indiegogo right now. So I've got a link down below if you want to pick this up, if it interests you. They've reached out to me. They seem like a really good company. They're definitely not had any issues with communication, unlike iNeo and other companies out there. But yeah, it's the first gaming handheld that has a 7840U. Now, we've talked about the differences between this CPU and the Z1 Extreme and the Z1 that AMD's also made. Now, they're very similar. Very similar. The Z1 Extreme is a little bit more power efficient. You can tune it down to 9 watts, I believe, whereas the 7840U, it's more designed towards thin and light gaming laptops, but it does have a couple of more features, and obviously, yeah, the same performance at higher watts than the Z1 Extreme. So anyways, let's take a look at some of the stuff on the Indiegogo, guys. So AOKZOE A1 Pro, I'm sorry, I can't talk today, guys. The world's first AMD 7840U handheld. It looks pretty cool. Now, one thing I like about this is a big deal, at least for me, is the fact that it's got an 8-inch display on it, alright? So, other consoles like the iNeo 2, your Steam Deck, your ROG Ally, they've typically all got around a 7-inch display. This one, it stretches out the display to 8 inches. So that's really good for games with like small UI, all that stuff, right? Now, the AMD Ryzen 7 7840U, it's a Zen 4 processor. It's got 8 cores, 16 threads, 24 megabyte total cache, 5.1 gigahertz max frequency. That's a lot for a handheld mobile architecture, right? AMD Radeon 780M graphics RDNA 3, whereas the Steam Deck is RDNA 2 and Zen 3. 12 RDNA 3 graphics cores, 2700 megahertz max frequency. Pretty cool. And back to what we were saying about that display, an 8-inch full HD IPS display with a max brightness of 350 nits and PPI of 283, more than enough. A 1080p, 16 by 10 display ratio, and 8 inches. Why can't everything have an 8-inch display? I love display consoles with like no bezel. It's one of my favorite things. It comes in 32 and 64 gigabyte RAM variants. That's a lot of memory. Now, if you're hooking this thing up to use as like a gaming computer, all right, to your monitors using a USB 4, or even with a graphics amplifier, 64 gigabytes of RAM. I've only got 32 gigs in my gaming PC, and that's already more than enough. Can you imagine 64? In this bad boy? It uses M2 2280 interface, so it uses pretty much full-sized NVMe SSDs, which, as you know, are more common and, more importantly, less expensive than the 2230 ones that the Steam Deck uses, and obviously better cooled, right? I mean, the 2 terabyte 2230 SSD that I've got on my Steam Deck. It's very small, but with that it comes more heat output, right, and more power consumption possibly. Linear triggers, the longest keystrokes by far, boosting your gaming experience, and a very cool heatsink here. Now it's pure aluminium, thin, pure copper heatsink too, so you're basically getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a combination between aluminium and copper. It's got Hall joysticks, which, as you know with the Nintendo Switch, will eliminate, or unlike the Nintendo Switch I should say, will eliminate drift and zero dead zones, so you'll be able to tune this in to be really precise. And that's one thing I really wish the ROG Ally had. I wish the Steam Deck had it. Obviously you can buy sticks to replace the Steam Deck, but these have them built in, so it's kind of cool. RGB breathing lights, so you could really crank this up, theme it, you know. Halloween, I could see myself changing the colors to like orange and green or something for Halloween to add the Halloween vibes when I'm playing this. You get 20 additional light effects, so you can have this RGB do just about whatever you want. You know what RGB is like, right? It's got great performance. A lot of benchmarks have came out for this thing, and you're looking at playing a lot of new releases, damn near 60 FPS or above. Now, it doesn't have a 120Hz display, which is a shame, because we know there's another console on the market that does, but we'll not talk about that. 60Hz is more than enough for me. As long as games can hit that 60Hz threshold, I think I'll be happy, right? And obviously, you know, it might not be 120Hz, but it's freaking 8 inches, so that's really good. So here's some of the benchmarks on Cinebench. So this is a Ryzen 7 7840U. We're getting 14,730 on Cinebench. Multi-core and single-core we're getting 1756. Now if we compare that to the i7 12700, that's not that far behind, guys. This thing is an absolute beast. Graphics performance up to 8.6 teraflops. Now compare that to the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck, I believe, is around 1.6 teraflops, whereas this thing can do up to 8.6. Now, I don't know what kind of scenario that is. I don't know if that's like beyond 30 watts TDP, because that is a big jump from the Steam Deck. If that's to be believed, that's way more than double, but I don't think, based off the benchmarks, you're going to get more than double the FPS on the Steam Deck on most games. You're going to get at least 75 to 100% more, depending on the wattage. And to get 75 to 100% more performance, you're going to need to crank this thing up to like 30 watts. But great APU all around with the graphics and the CPU. Obviously it's getting some good benchmarks here for 3D Mark and Time Spy, 3474 for Firestrike, 8047 for 3D Mark Time Spy. If we compare that to our freaking 1650 Ti, it's just behind a full-sized graphics card. That is insane. 8 inches full HD IPS. Now, like I said, it is 60 Hz, and here we compare it with a 66.7-inch display on your smartphone. It's quite a big jump, right? It obviously has got high-speed LPDDR5 memory, up to 64 gigs configuration. Obviously, a full-size PCIe 4 2280 SSD. So really good read and write speeds. Crazy. Apparently it's got really lightweight design. It's got, I believe, like a, what is it, like a 17,000 milliamp battery. 65, yeah, right, 17,100 milliamps. That is insane. In a handheld console, that's insane. Now if I compare that to a comparable battery bank, you know, which are kind of big, almost as big as the A1 Pro, it's crazy that they managed to fit that in there. Let's see, 65 watt fast charger, so you can charge this thing up insanely fast. It weighs 729 grams. It's a little bit on the heavier end, but nothing terrible. It's got obviously PD fast charge, so you can charge this thing up insanely fast. Your RGB lighting, if you want to customize it, like I says, I'm big on customizing for certain seasons and holidays, so I could see myself lighting this thing up like full RGB for Christmas, orange and green or orange and red for Halloween. Like, oh, I love it. It's got a 6-axis gyroscope and accelerometer sensor. Very cool. So you're going to be playing games like Forza Horizon at crazy frame rates. dual linear vibration motors, that's pretty cool. Dual vibration motors, precision in every move. A1 Pro's Hall joystick and linear triggers, so you're not going to get any dead zones or joystick drift, which, as we all know, is freaking horrible, especially on a console this expensive. You know, something you really invest your money and time into. The last thing you want is to be having something trivial like joystick drift, you know, having to send it off for repair. So it's got a 3D sonic effect out the speakers. Most speakers do this, really. It's just, you know what it's like. If you hold your hand up to a speaker, you feel some sort of vibration in it. You've got plenty of accessory ports. You've got a USB 3.0 port, USB 4.0, which potentially means you can connect this thing up to an external graphics amplifier, which I'm a big fan of. You know, you could take your AOKZOE A1 Pro out and about to travel with on the train, play games, even to work if you want. You know, just travel, sit in the bathroom, sit in the living room with the family, lay in bed, play your games, and then when you want to get really serious, take this thing downstairs, put it on your desk, hook it up to external monitors, and play this like an actual full-size gaming PC, especially with that 32 gig or 64 gig RAM. And the optional ability to connect it up to a graphics amplifier and truly connect a desktop graphics card to your AOKZOE A1 Pro and use it like a full-fledged gaming PC, which is nuts. I do love, this is one thing I really must credit them for, is putting a USB 3.0 port on the top of this thing, because as we know, there's a lot of accessories out there that still use normal USB, full-size USB, so having that on the top will be really handy. I could see myself putting a USB thumb drive on there for game storage, you know, which is insane. So yeah, that's really good. There's plenty of ports. Now, on the bottom side, it doesn't end there. So we've got our micro SD card slot 3.0, and I'm glad they've just used a similar connector like the Steam Deck here, where you can just slot it in and slot it out. There's no little plastic latch or anything like other consoles. You know what I'm talking about, that may or may not work when you get it. So this is perfect. This is what I like to see. USB 4 in the bottom as well. So we've got two USB 4 inputs. And obviously the top one, it says it has charge support. I'm not sure if the bottom one does or not. Of course, headphone jack, which is always good. Thank God for these gaming consoles keeping the headphone jack. I wasn't ready to let it go back when the iPhone took it away, and I'm not ready to let it go now. So I'm happy to see it, because I still use wired headphones, especially for things like this. You know, you don't have to worry about batteries. You just plug it in, use it. So yeah, that's good. Now, it seems to have a really good cooling system here, a pretty comprehensive cooling system. Now, it is only one fan, so we're going to see how that affects its cooling. It doesn't have two fans, unlike some other devices out there. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but a cooling system, the copper pipes and everything, the aluminium enclosure looks really, really sturdy, well thought out. That's good. Dual copper pipes, pure copper pipes, radiator pipes, PC grade large fan, and a built-in kickstand, which is pretty cool. We all like a kickstand. You don't have to buy a case for this thing if you don't want to have it. Yeah, keyboard and mouse, so you can actually switch between keyboard and mouse and game controls, which is nice. And a turbo button that lets you crank this bad boy up to 28 watts straight away. Now, I think the 7840U supports 30 watts, so I'm not sure if you can maybe configure this turbo button to maybe switch between a preferred TDP, maybe configure it so when you press turbo it goes up to 20 watts or 25 watts or up to 30 watts. I'm not sure. Hopefully it lets you configure that in the settings. And like I said before, it's got that kickstand built in. I hope this is like removable, kind of like the Switch's one. Hopefully we don't have to worry about breaking this off and then just not have the kickstand ever again, you know. So it's got Wi-Fi 6E, that's good, faster downloads and connectivity. Our commitment to your gaming experience is second to none, which is why we've gone the extra mile to install Wi-Fi 6E, Intel A6210, and Bluetooth 5.2 technology for data transmission. That's pretty good, pretty good. Downloading games like Elden Ring will be a breeze, taking only 15 minutes. No more waiting around for hours on end for game downloads. Very nice. So here's all the specifications overall. I'm glad it's got a gyroscope, supports a dock. I'd imagine this is going to support a lot of common docks that you see, because it's got the USB-C 4 on the top and the bottom. I'd imagine you'll be able to find some docks that actually work with the bottom one potentially, which is nice. But you kind of want one that has a cable that comes around the back. A lot of Steam Deck ones, I'd imagine, will work with this. A lot of third-party Steam Deck ones, and since it's powered by the top one, I'd probably go with the Steam Deck dock, potentially. The fact that it can support power delivery charging, that's really good. Wi-Fi 6, PCIe 4, M2 2280, big deal. I love how it's got 2 USB 4 ports, 350 nits of brightness, not too bad. And like I says, the fact that it's 8 inches is a big deal, and that sets it apart from the competition. Now, it comes in blue and white, so it comes in quantum blue, which is pretty nice. Let me know in the comments which color you would pick. Ooh, I just don't know. I don't know. They're going heavy on the colors here. I'll say that. I like the two-tone color. It's a lot though, and the blue and white one, it reminds me of Scotland, where I come from, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's quite nice. Now I'd love to get my hands on this. Oh, here's the box. Pretty nice box packaging material. Looks like they went the extra mile, made it look a little more premium, right? I've seen the unboxing of a different device. Won't say which one. If you've been looking at your unboxings of new consoles lately, you might have an idea with the plastic wrap and just the tacky unboxing experience. We won't go into which one, but this one definitely looks like it's a nice packaging, nice unboxing experience for you. And obviously they have proven that they could ship these things. They've already shipped the model before this, which is good. Again, they're going with the higher cadence in terms of releases. Now, they just released their A1 not long ago, kind of like I and Neo, and they've basically updated it with the new 7840U. I think it's what a lot of people want, but at the same time, if you just bought the last one, I can understandably, I could see you being a little bit annoyed. But they have proven that they could ship. Now, here's the prices. So we've got the 7840U, which is the early bird with 64 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes. You can get it for $11.59. Alright, like I said, this is probably overkill, guys. 64 gigs of RAM. And 2 terabytes. $11.59. It's definitely better than some other console, other handheld gaming PCs out there. Won't say which one. You probably know. But the fact you can get this at 32 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabyte storage for $7.99, which we're starting to get towards Steam Deck territory with that, and there's 16 left right now. They're shipping in June, so that's kind of good. But yeah, reasonable prices at the lower end. And remember, you can upgrade this. 32 gigs of RAM is more than sufficient, I would say, for just about anything, guys. I mean, if this was a 16 gigs, I'd be tempted to recommend you upgrade to 32, potentially if you're going to be using this for more heavier applications and multitasking when hooked up to a monitor. But the fact it comes with 32 gig base standard, I believe they got rid of the 16 gig version. That is a pretty reasonable price, guys. And considering how common those SSDs are, you know, to upgrade, I'm definitely looking at that $7.99 one, and I'm tempted to recommend it. So there we go, AOKZOE A1 Pro. It's available right now. It looks pretty freaking awesome. Let's just take a look at that trailer again. Boom. Oh, that's how it looks in your hand. Like I said, it's very reminiscent of the Logitech ROG Ally. It doesn't seem to have... Does it have back buttons? It doesn't have back buttons, so you're not going to have any extra inputs on the back. That's a shame. But I do love the screen. 8 inches. 8 inches. That's going to be awesome. 729 grams. A little bit higher, but like nothing too uncomfortable and unwieldy. They've went with that D-pad, that full size, like the circular D-pad. That is one criticism I maybe have. I'm not a massive fan of those D-pads, although, at least, especially when you're playing emulator games and platformer games. I obviously have an Xbox controller here, which I don't mind it on. I do like how the Xbox one is matte, though. I do like that matte grippiness of it. They've obviously went for a similar type of D-pad. It looks glossy, though. Not sure how that's going to be for grippiness, but I wouldn't be surprised if you'll be able to get stickers or something to really add some grippiness to it. But yeah, looks fantastic. I love the RGB. They've already shipped them before, but it is a company based in China, so keep that in mind. As for repairability, US service centers, I don't think you're going to have many. Hopefully their after-sales support is pretty good, so hopefully if you have an issue with this within the 1-year warranty or after-sales period, hopefully you'll be covered, and hopefully a community builds around this thing to where you can get replacement parts. You can obviously upgrade the SSD inside, so that's good, and I've get to see a teardown to see how easy it is to replace the battery, because at some point you will need a new battery for this thing. So I really hope AOKZOE will make an effort to make replacement parts more accessible for people. They want to keep this thing alive for years and years to come, right? But yeah, there it is, the AOKZOE. I'm a fan, I'm not going to lie. It's definitely one of the better ones out there. They went with that tried and tested design, none of this clamshell stuff, no flip keyboards or nothing. Obviously this is a design that a lot of people like, and obviously the Hall sensor joysticks, icing on the cake. So there we go, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you tempted to pick up the AOKZOE A1 Pro? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you love handheld gaming news and you love Steam Deck content, AOKZOE content, let me know in the comments down below, and subscribe and click the bell icon as well so you can be notified when I post more videos. I'd love to get my hands on one of these bad boys. So AOKZOE, if you're listening, please reach out. I obviously reached out to you, and you've reached out back to me, but if I can get my hands on one of these, I'd love to do a bunch of videos on this thing. It looks absolutely sick. Anyways, guys, I love you, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video on Blaze2K. Peace out. Bye.